Okay, back to Stampscaping University here with some more coloring. Okay, I thought we'd follow up the previous video with some additional coloring. This is the way I have my pads lined up here. I have them in groupings by hue, but it's just in various, a range of values in each, light, medium, and dark tones. Not exactly a complete range, but enough to get us started on these scenes, okay? So again, mix and match. Antique linen, desert sand, probably the walnut stain and rich cocoa, you know, that would be kind of a range of your brown tones and whatnot. I'd really use a lot more Marvy inks, but we'll just, I don't have a lot of other types of brands in a kind of a rainbow style. I don't know if, which ones I'll be using in this type of format here, but I just pulled them out just in the event that I do some sort of sunset type of color scheme with these warm tones like that. But the bottom line is I've just kind of lined them up in a range of values, and for the most part, you know, I've lined them up from the lightest color on top to the darkest color on bottom, because that's the progression in which I use these types of value ranges within each hue. Okay, so we have our grayscale pieces here still. I would start with some of those, you know, if you have those still. And all of these are just neutral grays. You know, we have our gray Memento that we used on here and our black Marvy inks, or whatever you ended up using. We have our lighting schemes already established in these pieces, so we can kind of go with whatever we want. In terms of the color range and color scheme, I should say, of each piece here, okay? I'm not going to do each one of these, but I don't know, we'll play around with some different looks in here. Now, this is just going to get us kind of established here in terms of our general color scheme that we're using in these ones. I won't do them all to completion, okay, because we'll do some fine-tuning on all of our pieces going forward, okay? Well, so, you know, this isn't the only colors that we'll add into our pieces. Okay, now, one of the things that I like doing on a lot of my pieces is no matter what color scheme I end up with, I like to kind of establish a base coat. And sometimes it's really nice. This is what they do, and this is what we learned in oil painting, beginning oil painting, is you kind of get a warm tone established. It was usually like a sepia wash or something like that, just over your gessoed canvas, okay? And it's a warm tone for sure, but this warm tone base foundation looks good with whatever color scheme you want to use. It could even be a cool colored scheme. Okay, it just kind of sets just a foundation for other colors to come, other temperatures, other color schemes, various values and intensities. Okay, now, I mean, it doesn't require a lot. Okay, I'm just using paper towel here because I want things to be really accessible to everyone. But see how I'm leaving some areas just as is. I probably did a little streak across right there, but you leave a little bit of white in here, okay? And that'll be for something that we do later on. If we do some accessorizing with like white pigment ink or like a white gel pen, we have our white light in here, okay? So that's kind of important, even if it's kind of minute, all right? Doesn't mean we have to use, you know, those types of embellishments, but it's just, I don't know. They're fun to do, and they can be very, very effective in terms of kind of finishing off a scene. It's kind of going back with opacity, where we've been using all transparent media, you know, in the form of dye-based inks up to this point. Maybe we'll try some VersaFine. You know, if you have a VersaFine black, you can use that. If you don't have one, that's one of those products that I would really recommend getting and having in your repertoire of media, Okay. All right, now, like I said, I won't do every one of these things, but... And you don't have to approach these all the same either. You don't have to do this kind of warm wash. Okay, so some other colors that you can use. A lot of you have distressings, things like old paper. This one's antique linen. They're all... A lot of them are real similar. And I would say even like a walnut stain, which is a lot darker than the antique linen, you can use that one as well. Something like that. If you have a Memento desert sand, if you don't have any of the Mementos or distressings, if you're just strictly like a Marvy user, and if there are some of you out there, great to see you. I haven't seen just a straight Marvy user in a long time. Pale orange, number 16 would be fantastic for that. My pale orange is all... I need to get some blank pads because I have the re-inker for that, but my pad finally zonked out and was all crumbly after, probably 20 years of using it. So you'll see right here, even that little tiny bit of white down there looks really nice. Alright, so, this is going fast, right? This base layer, we're talking seconds here, to get an established base layer. That's one good thing about working in the grayscale. It's when you have all that already established, the coloring is just a snap. Okay. Now, some of these, like this one right here, let's just get rid of the white. I love that white in there. It looks really good. Okay, let me do another one without any white. Let's say, I'll do this one right here. Okay, I'll just get rid of all of it, okay? So that kind of eradicates, my ability to use like a white embellishing medium, again, like the pigment inker, white gel pen or white paint pen, that type of thing. Alright, so that's just kind of filled in. It does take on a different spirit when you get rid of all that. It kind of mutes things a little bit. You don't have that real light anymore, but it mutes it so the value range is kind of condensed. But that has its own special qualities to it too. It can be kind of a more quiet scene when you don't have that range of light within the piece anymore. And I like that look too, okay? My instinct is to have a full range, but when I see people's pieces where they've gotten rid of the lightest of lights, I really like it. It has its own look to it. It's a very quiet piece in those ones, when you have this kind of muted lighting like that, all right? But for the sake of learning lighting, okay, let's try to stick with a pretty full range, even if the lightest of lights is a tiny little area within your piece, okay? Just so we have that full range. You can always overcolor something. Well, I don't know if it's called overcoloring, but you can always fully color things in the future. Okay. Okay. This is a nature set 10 composition right here with the cluster, sedge filler, and tree cluster small there. Alright, let's see. Like I said, I won't do all of these, but you can see how fast these come together. Like this swirling cloud one. Maybe we'll do some that's just kind of more in the kind of the antiqued look, like a sepia, however you pronounce it. I always call it sepia. Kind of that that brownish antiqued look, because I also love just that look to it. I'd go into the walnut or something like that and expand things a little bit more, but really fun. Okay, so let's take a look at these now. We have color tinted value ranges here now, okay? And I mean, how long did that take? It didn't take long at all. Just one color, just your foundation color. But you can really see things starting to develop as far as our color schemes go. And this is a light enough color. Okay, it's a light enough warm tone to be adequately, or effectively, I should say, influenced by other color schemes. Okay, so on this one right here, this is warm, right? Let's grab some of this peeled paint. It's a green tinge. Okay, let's add some green to it down here. Be careful with your lighting now. If you want to retain that lighting, don't color all of it out at this point in time. This is where people lose their lighting. It's when it's not really in the first color because they're very conscientious of it. So they kind of stay away from it. But it's on all these kind of medium to darker tones now. It's like they got rid of it, you know. And so in those lighter areas, what you do is you just use kind of a drier touch of it. And you just use those tones more sparingly. Like, for example, this peeled paint is a lot darker than, I've used it before, but it's a lot darker than what I was thinking it is, okay? So, it took care of a lot of shadow areas. Still have some of that light down there, though, but I took it a little bit, maybe a little bit farther than I thought I would be doing it. But, I mean, that's fine. It looks fine. I still have my lighting down there. Now let's go in the sky with, if you have like a, you know, if we're talking about distressing, it's like a tumbled glass or something like that. Or, I mean, you can take that sky, a different color. It doesn't have to be blue. Let's move it into kind of a warm tone. Let's go walnut stain. Okay, if I'm going with walnut stain, let me go with the same part of my paper towel that I had the antique linen with. Yeah, it's kind of related. Alright, darker tone. Start it in your kind of darker areas, like shadows. I kind of develop my shadows a little bit more, just like we did in, you know, when we did that grayscale toning in there. Okay. You kind of go with the retention of your lighting up in the sky as well. You know, don't tone all of your clouds out dark. Try to create a range of this walnut stain. So I'm trying to go for some darker walnut stain and some lighter applications of the walnut stain. The way you do the lighter ones is you just come into it with a much drier version of it, okay? I'm using that same walnut stain in the shadows down in my grassy area, and why not use some of it on the chapel as well? Maybe the chapel's supposed to be painted white or something like that, but, you know, you get the colors of your sky and everything like that reflecting off of buildings and objects and surfaces. You know, it's reflecting on that grass, off the building, as well as the clouds, okay? I'm going to go for a tinge of something else up here, a little bit happier looking maybe. Let's take this and let's go for, how about pink, okay? It's a little bit too pink, so let's blot that out and use that one instead of that one right there, okay? Come into it from the outside, just kind of lightly dab that in there. You can get a little tinge of it, a little taste of it, and then if you like it, then you know you can always go more. But I always kind of bring it in fairly slowly, okay? Do you see that little tinge right in here? It takes on a little bit of a different spirit, doesn't it? That, I can have a little bit of that reflecting off of my church. It's very subtle, as well as the grass, okay? Let me see if you can kind of get the gist of it. See a little tinge of it right here? It's that pink lighting that's hitting it. Okay? All right. A little bit of different color scheme here. Greens, pinks, browns, and I don't know, walnut stain, sepia-ish looking. That's what that walnut stain reminds me of. It reminds me of sepia. Okay, so that is that. This one will look good with a little bit of pigment ink embellishment in here, maybe a little bit of a darkening of some of the shadows. We'll develop these shadows going forward. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other ones here. Let's go with, I have to think of some color schemes here that I want to use. So those things are wide open. Let's just go with greens. Let's do this one. Let's do this kind of real bright emerald green. It's going to look kind of weird, but I do love this kind of emerald green color scheme. Okay, so going in with this green here. This is called Pear Tart. I love the look of emeralds. And that deep green, you see it in movies, like Pirates or something like that, have this bag of emeralds or something of that sort. And I always love that green, deep green glow. So Pear Tart, moving up in our value, scale, let's go into Peel Paint. And retention of those lights. When you start moving up in the darker tones, just kind of stay a little bit more perimeter oriented. Okay. Bamboo leaves. Now let's go with the bamboo leaves. The Marvy one is kind of lighter, but it's a lot more intense. The Marvy light green. Okay, kind of looks a little bit, I don't know, it's kind of rich in terms of the colors so far. This is Marvy green, light green, super bright. I'm using it on here, so it's not quite as bright, but that's a pretty bright color. It works really great as a foundation color for things like grass. It's way too hot, so you kind of mute it with a little bit of brown. That's my little color trick there that I use on a lot of things. Okay. Having that super bright green like that. Okay. Let's go to the cottage ivy. See, this darker tone. I'm staying on the perimeter more. Okay, and only, well, there's still a lot of ink on there. I was going to say only when, a lot of the ink is removed do I kind of come into the interior here, but still a lot of ink on this, so just use a much lighter touch, okay? So we don't always have to go with that touch. We can go with this touch right here. So you use, your hands are kind of like tools, for achieving darker or lighter applications, as well as brighter or duller applications, just from the amount of pressure that you use. You can really expand on all of the media within your collection. You can go for this color right here, or you can go for this color right here. It's just a real light tone, or I can go for, I can go for this green right here, but you can also go with that green, okay? Just by the amount of pressure. When people have troubles with it, they're always using the same amount of pressure, and everything gets really dark. But, Just barely touch it like that. Kind of expand your range of pressure range. I have a video on that on our techniques playlist as far as how you utilize your media. Okay, so see that right there? Now see, this looks good in here because I have that foundation color of the antique linen used in here. So it's kind of providing a nice foundation in here. If that was just straight white, it would look a little bit stark. It looks a little bit stark right now, I mean, it would be good to come in here with, we'll come in here and we'll add some additional tones using things like alcohol markers at some point in time too, when we do our embellishments. But emerald green's right here. It's a really fun color scheme to use. Okay, so let's see here. Let's just do something really easy. Okay, it's real loud outside with my window open here. It's real hot here in Southern California today. Let me close that window. Okay, on this one right here, I haven't done a kind of a real purplish looking color scheme in a while. I want to do that. Purple tones. I don't have a lot of purple tones in like Mementos or Distress Inks. I don't know, do they have a full range of purple tones? I don't know. All right. Look at that. That already has kind of a nice spirit to it. You can just, that looks good just on alone as is in many ways. And you can always stop at any point. You don't always have to go all the way. Look at that intensity right there. See how it's dull down here and real intense right there? I might not go too far with this one. I kind of like that look right now. But I'll just keep working it here, and at any given time, if I think that's it, then we'll just leave it like that. Okay. It has a nice kind of atmospheric mood to it, like that. Marvies give you a good, deep brightness like that. Or they can. Orchid's not a real bright color, but we'll see if it adds a little bit of value in terms of darkness. Yeah, it's a little bit darker. See, it's a little bit darker up top there. Although it's not a dark color. There's brown here too. I just use that sometimes just to kind of warm things up and to mellow out some different color schemes. Just a touch. Kind of gives it a little bit of an earthy feel to it. So, do you see that brown in there in the mix? Here's plum, or no, wine. Yeah, plum's a little bit redder, I guess. Or is wine? I don't know. Plum's a little bit more violet, maybe. Maybe the plum's a little bit redder. Okay. I think I'm going to stop right there. I don't want to take that into this violet. This violet's really dark. Okay, so anyways, kind of a nice little tinge of a, I don't know, I see it as like a twilight type of setting. Okay, this one right here. Which way should we go with this one? Blue tones for a moon. You can go warm tones. There's just kind of a sepia looking look to this. Doesn't it look kind of antique to you? Let's do something with that. Let's do something with that kind of spirit. Let's see here. Alright, I have my antique linen paper towel applicator here. Let's just use that again. Let's get a little bit more antique linen down here. I think I see this as this being kind of more the dominant color scheme, so I'm using some of this in here. Wouldn't be bad if I change paper towels. This one's getting kind of ripped up and ratty. So okay, so since this is going to be more of a kind of a dominant color scheme, or the main color scheme within the piece, what I'll do is I'll just add more of it, and I'll use it for, to add kind of some darker areas, even though this is a really light color. It's actually a little bit darker than I thought I could achieve. Maybe, I don't know, I might have had some other color on here. I might have had some walnut stain. Alright, let's go to that walnut stain now. But see, I put some of that antique linen across that moon just so it isn't so stark white. Okay, this is the walnut stain. It's a little bit darker, well, quite a bit darker than the antique linen. Now, if I wanted to stamp out like a sepia-looking print, one of the things that would have been good to do is, instead of stamping everything out in black here, I could have stamped it out in a brown, okay? And that would have been kind of a little more in the spirit of, you know, something that's really antique. You don't have that real wide value scale going from something really dark to really light, okay? It's kind of, the darks are kind of more like a 90% and 80% or something like that. You know, things that look a little bit more washed out. Not great for a range of tones, but really nice in terms of, you know, some type of kind of antique spirit to the appearance of a piece. Okay, that's the antique, that's the walnut stain. Let's go to rich cocoa here. Yeah, a little bit darker with each step. These are all transparent inks too, dye-based inks. So the colors underneath are going to influence the overall look of a piece. So even if you cover something up, the base layers are not like a lost cause. They are influencing what we see. They're influencing what we see as an end result. The more layers, potentially richer looking and deep the tones and color scheme. Okay, so I'm kind of increasing the spotlighting effect here too. You know, the darker I take the area around my lightest areas, it makes those light areas stand out a little bit more each step of the way. Okay, so here's brown again. This one's a really warm brown, Marvy color. See, I'm trying to leave the rooftop of the cabin light because it's being top lit by the moonlight. Okay. This one will look really great, adding black into it, you know, to deepen the shadows, you know, nighttime type of scene. But we'll stop right here. Okay, moving on. Let's see here. Different types of lighting scenarios. Here's this one, since I was working on this one before. And let me put a little bit more brown into this one. It's a really full composition right here, so I'm not going to want to do too much to it in terms of adding additional tone because I want to see those people down there. I'm just using the brown that I was just using before, and then we'll add in some other tones to this one. Let's go with this pink one right here. Add a... Okay, it's so warm out today. These my little paper towel little brushes are drying very quickly. Okay, remember the retention of your light areas, and then this one, like I said, there's not very much that's still light because of the amount of the shagbark hickory that I used in here. That's that tree I used everywhere in here. Looks like the large and small one. Okay, let's go with the, this will be called the purple hike. Or something like, I don't know. Walk into violet. Okay. That was orchid. Let's go with this. Oh, this is a new violet as well. Pretty dark. Perimeter oriented, okay. Ooh, that is really dark. Violet's always penetrated the surface really fast too when I've used it. Some inks seem like they're a little bit thicker in viscosity or something, but some can really stain. That's how dye-based inks work, by staining the surface, and this one's really stains quickly. Okay, so that was violet right there. Okay, now, like I said, I don't know if I'll do all of these. Alright, I need another paper towel. That's not too bad. I think that was one paper towel for, I don't know, what was that, 6 scenes so far? 5, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 scenes. 5 scenes on one paper towel. And I can still keep using these if I'm using the same colors. You can kind of leave these out until they start getting really kind of chewed up. Okay, let's go with some blues. Let's go with a real warm blue tinge in this water down here. Make it real, kind of like a real inviting type of lighting scheme in here. Okay. It kind of becomes a little bit more inviting looking with the more kind of tinges of warmth that you put in somewhere, you know. You might want to go to like an Antarctic type of scene. If you see a photo of it, you know, it looks really cool. But, you know, if you see like a picture of, you know, the Gulf of Mexico or the Caribbean or something like that, and you see that emerald turquoise looking Caribbean blue water, you kind of want to get into that water, you know, when you see something like that. So, you know, that means that there's just a little bit more green in that blue. Okay, now this is light blue from Marvy. Okay. And kind of careful, you know. It looks more of like it looks like my Caribbean blue because of that foundation of antique linen in there. So see how you can kind of get warmer tones just by mixing, matching, layering. Okay, this is Caribbean blue here. This is inherently warmer of a blue. Okay, it's just by default warmer. And it's probably looking even warmer, having layered it over the top of that antique linen as well. Okay, alright. Now, let's do something for the sky. I didn't address the sky yet. Let's just go in with some, how about summer sky? Memento. Memento Summer Sky is a really, really light value of blue. Let me add some more re-inker to that pad. Sometimes the color itself is just so light in value. You know, when I start applying it, I can't see anything. And this is what everyone does, you know, when they think there's nothing on there, so sometimes they press harder, but, you know, or they think there's something wrong. They think their pad is dry, but sometimes it's just the color is just so light that even at full strength on the card, it's hard to see. Okay, so you can see even with a lot of ink on there, I'm applying that. It's really applying slowly, but anyways, you get that oscillation of warm and cool up there, don't you? Even in the warm tones right there, they're a little bit, I mean, even cool tones, cool tone dominant with all this blue, it has still a little bit of warmth in it. It looks different, you know, than just a straight use of blue. Let me show you right here. Let me just take this blank piece of paper, okay? And here is summer sky right there, okay? And here's summer sky here. So it's a little different, right? I mean, this one here it might have a little gray underneath it too, but you can kind of get the spirit of you know, layering, the value of layering right there when you see a, you know, kind of a comparison between the two of applications, the two applications. All right. So we'll just go fairly subtle right here on this one. I don't want to think I want to take this too dark up here. I just want to go for something a little bit different. A lot of times I take this up here and I just mirror what's going on in the water up in the sky, but let's just keep it like that. While I have this in my hand and it's, you know, that pad freshly inked. Let me just go for a little bit more of this right here. Okay, that looks good. All right, how about one more here? Let's go with this one. A little blue down here, the sky. I don't think this is going to look too blue up in the sky because most of it is filled in already with gray. You get a little bit of it though. It cools it down a little bit in temperature. Let's get some of this into my grass. Okay, let's go with this green again. This green applicator. Maybe it's time to switch it out though, actually. All right. Pear tart. Okay. Maybe I'll add some wildflowers to this one. Let's go for the cottage ivy. I'm not, well, okay, I won't be lazy. Let's throw in the bamboo leaves as an intermediate between the cottage ivy, the darker green, and the lightest of green that I just used. Can't wait to get into kind of the fine-tuning of all of these stamp sketches and tonal studies, because that's when all those little types of things start to happen within these pieces in terms of I don't know, this kind of emotional, evocative qualities can come about from, you know, making shadows a little bit darker, embellishing with highlights, you know, kind of increasing the tonal range, the focal point of a scene as well. Okay, there's a little bit of green in here. I'll add a little bit of blues, and maybe we'll do a purple sky, I don't know, something like that. Sunset, dusk, that type of thing in here. Okay, that looks good for green. Okay, just took a little break there. Let's see here. One of the things that kind of allowing things to set up here really brings out is just the level of intensity of the colors when they're dry, and just how different they can be, or different they can appear when freshly applied and still a little damp. It doesn't happen with all combinations of paper and inks, but it happens with a lot of them. Mementos, Distress Inks, the Rangers. You don't notice it when it's on matte paper because it has a matte look to it inherently, but you really notice on glossy cardstock just the difference in kind of appearance between one that's dry and one that's still moist. But that being said, all you have to do is spray them, and they'll all have that deep saturation as if it's been freshly applied, like that. That level of intensity, like that. Okay. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just take a look at any of my spray sealing videos. Okay. All right. This little cabin in here needs a little bit of tone. Easier just to do it with an alcohol pen or a dye-based ink marker or something like that. I'm going with just a few different values of brown. This one's a little bit, well, quite a bit too dark, so you just apply it like so, and then you go back in with a lighter shade, one of those other ones that I was using, and just color it right back in. Okay, but we'll do most of that later on with how we finish these pieces. Okay, so anyways, adding a little bit of this Caribbean blue in here into the water. Retaining some areas of light. Retaining some areas of light up there. This little area in the grass is a little bit lighter than these side areas. It doesn't have to be white, but it is a little bit lighter, so we have a little bit of a lot of a change in value up here. Sky, we have change in value in the grassy area, and we have change in values in the water. Okay, so it's a little bit like a checkerboard type of look. Dark light, dark light, dark light. It's oscillation like that, and it leads to a nice, rich lighting scheme and surface area having a little bit of variation like that. Doesn't mean you have to do all of them like that. Okay, yeah, look at these. Yeah, these can all use. Look at how dull that one look right there. It's because of the gray, that Memento gray really dulled it out, but we'll bring it back around. We'll bring all of these back around with the use of some additional tones and spray sealing. Okay, let's see. We went through 7 of these right here. And these all come together pretty fast, like I said. All right, here's a couple more. Let's just go warm tones on this one. Okay, let's go with something like these. I don't know if I'll go all like that, but let's just take a look. All right, let's go with the yellow. It's really fun kind of watching that temperature change when you had colors like this. All right, now I'm gonna go over these, over the whole thing with color. Okay, I won't leave any white. Okay, and we'll work this kind of a transitioning sky type of thing. This is a little bit of an orangish yellow. It's called brilliant yellow. Okay, a couple streaks like that. I mean, that's all you really need. I mean, you can add more, but transitioning tones like that. See that? See that little streak across there, like so. You can put some on the rocks if you want to, capturing some of that light or that color of light. Okay, see that? Here's a red. Okay. Come across it like that. Isn't that fun? Here's a magenta. Alright, I tell you what, I'm going to go back to the yellow again, just to see if I can kind of smooth some of those other tones out a little bit. Okay. Give a nice vibrancy. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit, no, let's not go with the antique linen. Let's go a little bit with the walnut stain here. And I'm going to put this walnut stain on those rocks. Maybe I'll try some of the sky as well. Have some water. I like to deepen my shadows down on the water where there are shadows drawn on the design itself. Okay. All right, that's that. I have a couple others that I didn't do, but I don't know, we did plenty for this video. Okay, so thing is, kind of set up your color schemes. I mean, I did a lot of different color schemes for this one. I mean, all you have to do is, if you're just working on one scene at a time, though, just get all your pads kind of lined up from light to dark or whatever, in whatever color scheme you're working in. Just in general, make it visual if you don't, if you kind of haven't done this type of thing before. If you can't tell what color comes before which one, in terms of light and dark, if they're really close, then it doesn't matter, okay? You can go with either one. It's like, if you're going with blues and greens or something like that, that one's a little bit darker than that, maybe, but some of these you can't really tell. And if you can't tell, put them in whatever order, one color in front of the other. It's not going to matter that much. And it makes for a nice rich surface, and it makes for a really easy application process when you're not taking a huge jump in value going from something that's really dark or really light next, with something that's really dark. Okay, clearing out some space here. Let me get these scenes laid out here and we can see what we've done. Okay. I mean, it doesn't take long to color these in either, especially when you have kind of your grayscale already established. The grayscale it mutes things a little bit, though. Things aren't quite as bright when you have that gray be underneath color, okay? But it is an easy way to work. I don't work that way a lot, though. I'm just doing it for this Stampscaping 101 because I want everyone to have a really strong sense of lighting first, and then we'll do some other scenes. We have some other stamp sketches that we didn't do the grayscale with, and we'll just go in on these ones and just go straight into the colors, and we will do a little bit of a, compare contrast type of thing. All right, so anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you stamped along with me and kind of addressed some of your stamp sketches if you haven't done that yet, or some of your grayscale lighting scheme pieces, and applied those colors right over the top of it. We'll also do, when we get further along, we'll do some of these other types of compositions, maybe on matte paper and using different media, but you'll see that the same kind of processes still apply. We'll still go for some lighting and shadows in each piece. We'll develop our color schemes and whatnot. And, just we'll achieve different types of looks based on that media, but the same type of foundation principles of lighting, composition, lighting direction, spotlighting, etc. That will still apply to this. So all of that's a real foundation for whatever type of media you apply to those concepts and processes. Okay, so anyways, until the next Stampscaping 101 or other videos to come, thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, drop us a note in the comment section.